Hello, good afternoon. Oh, good evening. I don't
Good
know.
evening.
And welcome to Sports Carven with me and Moses. And we'll have Ernest joining us in a few
Moses,
seconds.
Chadu?
Yes, so
Yeah.
time for the sports lowdown. We are going to have Ernest join us just a little bit in a little bit now.
Yeah, it's been quite a weekend.
Amazing weekend of sports so far. There's more to come.
Quite. Man, listen. Just what we've just watched from the Formula One race. What a race. But what a disaster for George Russell for the impeccable race he had. He shouldn't have gone out like that. Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very disappointing way for the race to end. But yeah, you learn. That's how you learn. You have to go through those things. I mean, if it was Hamilton, I'm certain. I'll say again, it would have been an easy win for him because he will not agree to pit under that safety car for removing a front wing because it's most certainly going to be removed quite easily or quite quickly. So he's going to doubt the team's decision to double stack them in that situation, and he's going to call them out on it. So yeah, definitely something that should have been thought about.
Right. Then, of course, like I said, we have a ton of things to talk about. I think you already have them with you there. So, for all the viewers that are joining us, we are saying it's a sports Carven because we are trying to, touch each and everything here, Uganda, talk about, whatever is happening, in rugby, whatever is happening in the world of golf. It's a buffet of sports, really.
It's a buffet of sports. Yeah, you pick and you choose what you want at this point. But yeah, we're going to try and cover as much sports as we can. We have Ernest joining us, and I think Ruben will also be joining us shortly.
Yeah. Ernest, good evening.
Network or something.
No, it's okay. Hello, Ruben.
And
No.
Good evening to you, and welcome to the Sports Carven.
oh, Ernest is having a bit of internet issues.
Yeah, it looks like.
Ruben, can you see us? I think Ruben's speaker is having probably an issue.
Yeah, well, I mean, we can try and get on. I think Ruben has not connected his microphone yet, so hopefully he connects sometime soon.
Maybe we'll send him a WhatsApp text to tell him your microphone is not connected.
Ruben, turn on your mic. Or you want to be like? Well,
we can hear you.
We can hear you now.
I can't hear Moses.
Wait, you can't hear me at all?
Do I need to use earphones?
Can you hear any one of us? You may have to, yeah, because
I can hear you, Ian, but I can't
hear
Moses.
So it's a Moses problem. But I can hear Moses, which means that you should be able to hear him.
I don't know why.
Let me see.
Is there a mute somewhere on this thing?
No. And it seems to be back, but his connection does not look great. But we should try and get
started.
Yeah, get into the program. I think we are going to head straight into. Of course, we started off with the F1, but we'll get back to that later. We're going to head straight into the rugby. So, Moses, if you can take it away from here.
Yes. I don't know if Ruben can hear me now. Ruben, can you get me?
I can hear you. I hear you. I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. There's a lot that has been happening in the world of rugby, and specifically, we want to start from back home. Yesterday, I happened to have taken a bit of time to go to Bulgaria to see the budget, what the rugby players are doing to try and keep fit, to try and keep sane with the sport. And I noticed that they're playing touch rugby for many of them, and I think it's working out for them. But we go to the issues of the finances that the rugby union is having. When you look at what has been happening, you look at the resources that have been coming in, do you think that the rugby union is doing much in terms of dispensing these finances?
Well, that's something that can even be connected to our previous conversation, because we can't even assess if there is much that is being done, or they are incapable of actually doing a lot, because
Yes.
we don't know. We don't get any accountability. We don't have anything. So even there is money that has just come in, we're not sure how it's going to be allocated, how it's going to be spent. And there were communications during the COVID period that they were going to be giving out masks, they were going to be giving out some food. Yes, some food was given out at the beginning, but how sustainable was that? It's a tricky situation, because there is, as I continue to say, a gap in communication between the union and the various stakeholders, because you will find that the union has a different story, but the players have a different story, which is not good. So it's something that is very hard to answer, I should say, without, especially if you do not have a direct source or evidence. It's just pure guesswork.
When you talk about pure guesswork and, of course, accountability issues, you talk about issues of how, as a federation, you're looking at a scenario where the players are saying a different story, the union is saying a different story. There seems to be a massive communication gap, and I think that is one of the reasons as to why rugby continues to struggle, because there is a disconnect amongst the stakeholders. What can be done, to try and bridge these gaps? Because as it stands right now, we are not only playing catch up to Kenya. We're now starting to even lose ground on the upcoming federations in the region, which ideally means that as a country we have gone from being a powerhouse in Africa to being a struggling nation.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree with you on that. And for those that have taken time to share some banter with our Kenyan neighbors, they'll tell us that we are so lost in the 2007 triumph. That's all we have to talk about today and 2020, which definitely says something about rugby in Uganda. We are definitely there's a lot of stuff that needs to be worked out. And in my opinion, I feel like there is need for an overhaul in so many things. The systems need to be built from ground up, I should say, from the school systems to the club systems to the national team. But even also goes back to our management. We do not understand what partnerships go into this game with the sponsors, with the various partners, stakeholders. Nile Special, which this year was Nile Stout, the new brand that came on, which was the official sponsor. They say it's a sponsor of the league, but the money that is given apparently caters for the national team. So that means the league doesn't have money, and it's there's a lot of confusion there. Like, we do not know where which money is supposed to fall.
I just want to take you back a little bit, Ruben, on the issue when you talk about how the money that was brought in by Nile Stout is actually meant for the national team, vis-a-vis it being for the league. Because what happens here is you have Nile Stout being the name sponsor of the league, and how can it be a name sponsor when, in essence, they're not putting any money into the league?
And it has so much to actually say about the whole situation. Like, it's so shady, it's so unclear. There's a time when Belaga wanted to come into the league, and so many others. But these guys wanted to have an agreement with the union, but also deal directly with the teams. And I do not know why that was what can I call it? It was refused It was blocked. At this point, we have had Nile Special for quite a while. But you cannot tell me that Nile Special's offer keeps first and foremost being constant every year for like the last 7 years or so. And yet the mileage that Rugby gives Nile Special, surely there should be some more money added. But even the money that comes, we are not sure if it caters for the clubs or it caters for the national team. And when they're told, it's actually the national team that gets priority. So how are clubs supposed to go through the whole 18 game season without some of these clubs lack sponsors, and they need to keep moving around. They need to keep facilitating their players. So, and if you don't facilitate players, if you don't cater for their medical bills, rugby is a very, very physical game. This is why we have lost so much talent, and so many people have been disillusioned. The reason why many people go there is because they still love to play the game, or they just love to watch the game. But you find a lot of people, especially saying, I don't want to play rugby because I got an injury and I had to deal with it on my own, which is so wrong. Even on the national team, we saw the issue of Marvin Odong, a regular.
Yes.
It was so embarrassing. We don't understand what connections the union has with people covering medical and how far it goes, and also on basic player facilitation. So just summing it all up, I think it's disorganized. We don't know. And when you talk about maybe inquiring about accountability, you're seen as a person who is rebelling.
Rebelling against the
where we need to, so I think we really need an overhaul from the management. We need to get in younger, more enthusiastic people. We need to streamline now and understand what sponsorship covers and covers the other. So we just need to go back to the drawing board if we can be able to be allowed, because right now that would be a tug of war in rugby, because it seems like it's bigger than we actually think.
So from what I hear, the same problems that continue to plague Ugandan sports have spread there. I mean, rugby for a moment there seemed to be a well-run sport. At least 2 years ago, we seem to be heading in the right direction, but something has changed over the last few years, and the problems that plague Ugandan sports seem to have reared their heads in rugby. I remember we were doing a certain rugby sevens tournament that we were doing with Rock Telecom, and we were moving around the country, and there was a big fight, I think, in Bali, where they didn't even manage to take off because of finances and money and things like that, and players not being paid, and people saying that the money was eaten before the whole event could take place. So it seems that as Ugandan sports, the problem that continues to rear its head with the finances has spread its way to a sport that seemed to have managed to figure things out there, because rugby seems to always attract some form of sponsorship within the nation. So it's a bit disappointing to find it that it's failing right now, because I guess the leadership, I saw some pretty amazing scenes. For me personally, I'd never seen people fight that way when they're leadership of a sport. So it's very disappointing to know that it's now come to this. I hope we can figure it out. Maybe young blood. I saw something that they had new executives for the Cobs and stuff. But when you look at the names that are new, they're not really new, because it's just the same names just rotating around.
It's recycling.
Yeah, they're just recycling and changing where they are placed. So maybe the sport doesn't get the opportunity to get fresh blood and move forward with that fresh blood.
Ultimately, I would believe so, because we seem to be, when you look at what is happening, for example, at the top of the union, you have guys who were previously working as probably secretaries for this department, or someone who was working as publicity, finds his way to the top of management. So you can't expect any change of ideology when it is that kind of system that is working. There is always going to be that kind of redundancy. And we are going to be very, very unfortunate, because right now, Uganda's rugby is so much reliant on the sevens, because I think it was 2018 when we were in San Francisco for the Rugby Sevens World Cup. And you want to believe that the sevens can at least be maintained and continue with the progress that they are having. But to the kind of management that we're having, I think we might even lose a foothold on that.
Yeah, definitely. Because when you speak, I see when you take time and speak to the players, or if you're part of the players and you hear the conversations that go around, they're very interesting. You'll find that some of these guys that get selected actually prefer the sevens, because at least there's a little bit of return as compared to the 15s, where players go months without receiving their allowances. Within that camp, sometimes there are strikes. I don't know. There was a certain game sometime where the players were even threatening not to play. Actually, I think it was Zimbabwe. Then at some point, a strike can't be effective if some people pull out. So some of the more senior guys pulled out of the strike, which makes these other guys seem rebellious, and they also had to just give in and play. But I remember that Zimbabwe game at Chadon where they came and they washed us. But there's so many problems that happen behind, and we don't understand how these players are being affected. You talk to some of the older guys, and they'll tell you back in the day, they used to have game allowances of $150, but now they get, if they are lucky, they get 150,000 shillings for game allowances. There was incidences that they went to Senegal, they didn't have food, and this is a game. These guys eat. The food wasn't enough, and sometimes there's so many challenges. And
as a rugby player, you need to eat.
Yeah, you need to eat a lot. Trust me. When you're from those trainings, the body demands you to put something back. And I think one of my biggest thoughts, and I think where I still blame even the players and the clubs, is the power is with them. The power of change is with them. If the clubs all say
exactly,
we're not doing this, we're not going to do this unless this changes, it changes. So which brings to question what is happening with club management as well. Is there a connection between club management and unions somehow? Because we have even been talking about the 10 million shillings clubs were promised, but I've not seen any chairman come out to call out or to clarify that they have received it, if they did receive it. So it's a mess.
It's a lot of things.
Just a puzzle. Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, it comes down to, as a whole group, you need to have a players association, and you also need to have a clubs association aside from the actual league, and then you need to have these different parties have a very well represented, honest and clear representation from all parts of the bodies, the players especially, because sometimes you find the players' representatives are also out for their own objectives and not entirely for the players' objectives, and the players get blindsided by a lot of these things that come out. Eventually you find yourself saying, well, cash was received or money was transferred from sponsorship and it's stuck somewhere. Why is money stuck somewhere for that long, to the point where players are having to go and, I don't know, participate in some pretty strange tournaments that are putting their bodies at risk, because this is a very heavy contact sport where there's heavy injuries almost all the time, and then the players are ending up spending nights hungry, and they're like, well, at the end of the day, why do I have to do this if I'm not going to get paid? It's a bit of a joke, to be honest.
It is quite honest, and I think
I wouldn't like to see it go that way, but I think that for change to be effected, the players have to take power into their hands. They have to do maybe something similar to what happened with Ugandan football, but something needs to be done, and that's the only way things happen. Otherwise, we're losing so many interested sponsors. We're losing so many, because people at the back end want something for themselves, and that's why I really feel like a lot. Yeah.
No, I was saying that I was just agreeing with that. Even in as much as we're losing so many sponsors, we are also losing so many talents, because just like you see in the world of basketball, you're going to see that even in rugby, you see from high school, there are so many talented kids but by the time they are coming up to the national level, their parents to play at the professional level, their parents are going to ask them, okay, can you mention to me how many players or 10 players that have actually earned from rugby? So you find players diverting, going from the game that they love, the game they would have wanted to play, to now actually just focusing on doing medicine, doing probably engineering or something of a sort. So again, we are losing so much talent, not because we don't have talent, but because of the disorganization that is stemming from the top of the chain.
Yeah, I definitely agree, because we are aspiring to compete with the likes of Kenya, but we have failed to try and lift our leagues and our rugby from the amateur level, where someone reaches a point and they're like, you know what, let me focus on other things in my life and leave rugby. Why don't we commercialize the game so that we can keep some of these household names? One of the people that I think me has really hurt me to leave this game was Felix Lubega. He was a very he was a Nadolo-esque player, skilled, big back, very powerful, very fast.
Yeah.
But he decided to go and do other things, and that's just a story for so many. Some will lose. There's also that big gap between from schools rugby to club rugby. That transition. We no longer have a very credible field league that used to be there. I can say I'm privileged to have played in what was the last version of a very competitive Shield League. But these days, you find that the Shield is quite mixed. There are a lot of second string sides for other clubs which cannot qualify, which means competition there is a bit funny. Then sometimes there are games, sometimes there are no games. And also, it also goes back to the clubs. Because actually, the requirements for you to be in the league as a top flight club is you must have a second side, you must have a women's side. But if you cannot even maintain your own senior men's side, how are you going to have whatever? It's a women's side and a second string side. So there are so many challenges, and we pretend and we go around these things, but at some point it's like a bomb that is yet to explode, and we hope that it explodes the right way. I don't know if there is the right way, but something needs to be done.
All right. I think you have eaten so much time into the other topics. But quickly, Ruben, what is happening in the world of Tri-Nation? We have seen the Wallabies, they just can't seem to get a hang of themselves. In the World Cup, we saw them being completely a disaster. And even right now, looking at them in the Tri-Nations, they are completely not the team that we have always known Australia to be. We've just seen the autumn tournament as well getting underway. We've seen England taking part. What is happening in the world of rugby internationally, in a nutshell?
Yeah, well, from yesterday, the Tri-Nations, the final game of that season was completed, and yet again it was another draw between the Wallabies and the Pumas, Australia and Argentina, 16 all, just like the previous weekend. I think a lot of stick is going to Australia, but I'd like to say I think this new coach, Devernay, he's actually trying to bring in a lot more young guys and focus on building for the 2023 World Cup. So I want to give him a little bit of credit. I feel like there's a different feel to the team because there are a lot of changes. And in rugby, it takes time. People have to get used to combinations. Some of these guys are very young. They have to get used to test rugby. Test rugby is different from club rugby. So a lot of that needs to actually really adjust. So, and it takes time. I think they tried their best. They got a win against the All Blacks. They drew here. They lost some. They'll get better, I think, with time. But I think my standout in the Tri-Nations was Argentina. They didn't have much time for preparation, straight out of COVID. Put up some good displays, beat the All Blacks, refused to succumb to Australia. So definitely there are places. I feel like Argentina is going to be a very big threat, especially under Ledesma and Michael Cheika. There's a lot happening. There's a lot of change in how Argentina is playing, and I feel like they were my team of the Tri-Nations. We were sad we could not see the Springboks. Hopefully, in the next year, if everything goes constant and fine, we hope to get a Lions tour to South Africa, which I think is going to be very interesting.
All
yeah,
right.
then for the Autumn Nations, there have been playoff games, and today there was a final, which was, like we had discussed last week. There is a rule currently between the clubs and the French Rugby Federation that players cannot play more than 3 games for the national team. I think they're trying to reduce on the workload so that they can reduce on injuries and everything with all that's going on. So France actually lacked a number of players today, and I've been seeing the banter going around that England was struggling with the France team C, team B. But I'm like, come on, guys. As long as you're putting on a shirt, you've been chosen to take on the mantle. You're not going to say, if let me put it in a football perspective, that if Manchester United brings under 3 kids and they go to play the Champions League final against Real Madrid, let's say, it was Manchester United, it wasn't Man U B. So it was a very, very funny take that I was hearing from people, but credit to France, and it goes back to what we were saying the other time, that they have invested in their younger sides, their developmental sides, and now it's ripping off. And I think that they're also going to peak by the time they host the World Cup in 2023. But I'm also happy for my team, my England team. Unfortunately, I could not put on the shirt because I wore it. But I'm happy we won. I'm really happy we won. And sometimes to be a winner, not all wins are so awesome. Some are ugly. Some are some are tough. And they just have to. I think they're now getting it in them that at all costs, sometimes it won't be flashy, but get the win. And they got the win. And I hope that they can carry that culture when it matters most in 2023.
Ruben, yes, go on.
No, I was going to say that the French are very serious about trying to win it. Whenever they host a tournament, they try to make sure that they keep it in house. So they're very serious about winning the tournament, and they're putting everything forward. Their league has been sponsored quite heavily. They've tried to actually kick up from the ground. They've tried to minimize the impact of COVID on the progression of players and things like that. So they're putting a lot forward in the efforts to try and make sure that they retain the title when they actually host the tournament. So it's something to look forward to. I'm actually quite excited by the French team. There's a lot of love for rugby right now.
For those that had the privilege of watching the 2007 World Cup in France, you will know that it had so many upsets. The All Blacks lost to France in the quarterfinals. So it was crazy. It was very, very interesting rugby. Again, it was England and South Africa that met in the final, and for some reason, England can't beat South Africa in a final. You can beat it any other day, when it comes to no. So, but when you're a host team, there are a lot of expectations, especially if you're in traditional rugby nations. Like, you're expected to perform above and beyond. No one wants to do what England did in 2015, where they succumbed to so much pressure and they went out in the group stages in their own World Cup. It was a very miserable time for myself, so it's something
the English are their own undoing, to be honest. Like, they can't help themselves.
Listen, with all the noise they keep making, it just happens. The gods work. The gods work for the word.
It's not even the gods. It's just one bad result, and everything falls apart. One bad result, and they can't keep it together after that. It's just a mess from there. Then the coach is making multiple changes. Then they're making calls for the coach's head, and it just becomes a total roll of mess from one bad result. It's just the way the English do their thing. So you can't say much about that.
I think Eddie Jones has really tried to change that culture, because all the other coaches before didn't really have that much power. But he has really tried to change the culture. And you can see he's also trying to change the players' mindsets. And I believe that he has actually done a good job. And he's also lucky that he has picked up a team that picked at the right time, because the guys that came through with Stuart Lancaster. Most of these guys were like 22, 21 when they lost in 2015, and they left in the group stages. And there was a lot to learn, the baptism by fire. So I believe they're on the right trajectory from a 2015 group stage elimination to a 2019 Rugby World Cup final. There, at least there's been progress, I should say. And yeah, definitely 2023 is going to be very interesting. The French are also, I'm sure they have so many exciting players. The All Blacks will want to say something about what happened to them with England. It's going to be. Australia will also have some feeling. They're a tournament side. Whenever it comes to those big tournaments, they can try to show up. And there's always the surprise team. We had Japan in 2019. Yeah. Let's wait and see who it's going to be. Yeah, but we can't wait. But I think the close focus now will be for the Lions tour next year, where the British and Irish Lions will be traveling to South Africa, keeping all factors constant, no more COVID or anything else. They'll be going to South Africa, and that is also very interesting for people in the rugby circles. It's a very, very interesting time.
Yeah, Japan will not be sneaking up on anyone in 2023, that's for sure.
I have a feeling Uganda will be sneaking up on someone, but
past Namibia and Zimbabwe.
Let them first sneak past those two.
But in a nutshell, Ruben, I've been reading around, I've been seeing a lot of comments flying over, and everyone is saying, listen, World Rugby has to do something. Rugby is becoming a kick and run sport. People are just, all they're doing now is kick the ball forward, run at it. It's becoming, what can you say, probably a minute, and we close on the aspect of.
I've seen those remarks and those comments so many times, but my whole point is one thing they should understand: rugby is it's in case you've noticed the way clubs name themselves, they're RFC, Rugby Football Club. Football is kicking is part of the game, and I tell people, let people play their strengths. Not everyone can play like the All Blacks. This is where teams get beaten when you try to play to the All Blacks' strengths. It doesn't work like that, and it's just basic tactical understanding that you play to your strengths, and you also try to capitalize on the opponent's weaknesses. So if you feel like your best game, especially in the Northern Hemisphere, is through kicking, kick. Because let me give you a very practical example. It's always wet in the Northern Hemisphere. And for those that have played rugby in damp or wet weather, you'll know that ball is very slippery. It's very hard for you to have a very fluid game. So why not let them kick? Yeah, let them kick. Then for you, when you get the chance, you play your open, vibrant kind of rugby. I feel like it's a very weak excuse, I should say. I don't buy into it.
Plus,
before I forget, special mentions for Fiji, who throughout the Autumn Nations Cup didn't play any rugby until yesterday, which they their one game against Georgia. A very, very good win. They won 38-24, and Nemanja Nadolo, for those that follow Super Rugby, they know Nemanja Nadolo. He's a Fijian international. He's now playing for Leicester Tigers in the English Premiership. Yeah. But he came out of retirement back to the team and scored a hat-trick of tries. And I'm sure very many people were very happy about that. And it was another. I wish we could have seen more of Fiji, because I feel like Fiji also has a lot to offer. But unfortunately, they had so many COVID cases, so they could not play most of their games until this weekend. So they had to just make positions.
Fantastic. I mean, Ruben, it's always interesting to chat with you about rugby. But please, don't go away. Feel free to stick around and we'll chat other sports as well. We're going to talk about football. We'll talk about... it's unfortunate to have lost Ernest because of poor network. Probably Ernest would have been able to share with us.
He has survived. He had a comment that he made, and I wanted to make for everyone to watch. He just tweeted a few minutes before the show that Ivan Magom is a better clutch player than Owen Farrell.
Than Owen Farrell.
Just one bad game because he missed a couple of... once you set a standard...
Recency bias.
Owen Farrell, that Owen Farrell doesn't miss from some sports. Now today, I think the pressure got to him or something, and he was missing. And all of a sudden, everything else he has done was pushed.
Even if I'm honest, even if I'm honest, and I know that Magom is one who's going to probably buy for me my plate of chigere and my lunch after the match, I would want to make such a comment.
I know. For honest, it must be a political thing. Trying to get the book the Pirates Club captain that can have game time this coming
season. All right. So basketball in Uganda, gentlemen. Just recently, we saw Jimmy Anabo being awarded by the National Council of Sports. Before we even talk about basketball, National Council of Sports got their Twitter page recently verified by Twitter, and they came out and tweeted, "We have been verified by Twitter." And of course, I was amongst the many that rained on them with, "Okay, fine, you have now been verified. Can we see verification of accountability of the money that is provided by the government? Can we see?" So many people came out with comments, and at the end of the day, like we were saying earlier on, the issues of Ugandan sports stem from the very highest level, and we need to see that organization come in. I was hoping that with Hamson Obua coming in as Minister of Sports, we'll start seeing a little bit of a significant twist of things happening. But we only saw a change of faces. Probably COVID interrupted these activities, but we'll have to wait and see. So basketball, like I was saying, Jimmy Enabu was awarded as the best basketball player of the month of November. And I think it doesn't come as a surprise because the Silverbacks went and represented us well in Egypt, played quite enticing basketball despite losing the first game to Egypt. But they went on to pick up a win against a Moroccan side, which for me is one of the best in Africa. Then you also look at they went ahead and beat up on Cape Verde. So I think overall, as a country, basketball this time around, we are well placed to actually go and do something in Kigali next year in February to try and see to it that we actually, find a way of qualifying for the big tournament.
Yeah, I mean, it's
my biggest. Before I let Ian speak, I think my biggest issue is why some of these achievements that now basketball has, you find that why is it that we have very little publicity or none for some of these things, and yet some of these sports are actually doing bigger things than football. No offense to football, but you find that basketball has a lot going on, but for some reason, their achievements are not, or their journeys are not really publicized or talked about as much.
Yeah, I think it's a general problem with sports in Uganda because you look at basketball, you look at motor rally, you look at rugby. I remember when rugby was in San Francisco for the Rugby World Cup, there was very little coverage on media houses. And for me, that was a big issue because as a country, as media houses, we have so many media houses in Uganda. And you could probably look around and say, usually Bazuten an article about San Francisco. You could look around and say, Kawawa Sports, because Kawawa Sports has a very big affiliation with rugby. They actually wrote about rugby. So for me, it's a case of, as the media houses in Uganda have to do a much better job when it comes to reporting about the achievements of our national teams.
Yeah,
I mean, most of our reporting is reactionary, and if you put it on top of what's currently going on, you're going to realize that people will not really pay attention to most sports at the moment. You look for the results in the qualifiers, and you won't find them on any mainstream sports media in Uganda, and you're asking yourself what's going on. I remember the time you were telling me, I think the week before last, when we had just lost to Egypt, and I went to check on on the main media houses, and I couldn't find it, and it was only on Afro Basketball, and I was like, okay, what's going on here? Shouldn't we have some sort of results about this? If these results, if we are out there, if we're doing something, if our boys are doing something, even if we have some pretty terrible basketballs that we are using to train, we are getting results on the continental stage. So come on, man, show the boys some love. Show the boys some love. Our courts are terrible, but show us some love when we go out there and represent the country. It's always disappointing when something like that gets overlooked by most of the media houses.
Yeah, definitely. I think we, as media houses, we have to do what you'd call a step up in terms of the way we report on our sports in the country, and even when we go out of the country. Because I remember the time when I think it comes back down to, should have been the Joshua Cheptegei, the first time he raced in Uganda. Very few people actually knew about the event. All people kept seeing were billboards around Kampala about, and the billboards actually came up, I think it was 48 hours to the race, which was quite depressing to watch because you'd want to see that this is a national activity. Countries all over the world, they maximize on such events.
Well, we hope somewhere after we maybe I don't really know. It's always a disappointment, to be honest. Like I would hope that we'd take pride in our sports and we'd always follow our athletes, whether they're doing something small on a Thursday evening at Chadondo rugby grounds, or because it's our sports. I do not want to. Well, maybe it's not selling that much, but it's always disappointing where you find that something big has happened on the Ugandan scene, and they're not even on page 3. That is from the back. Page 3 from the back of the sports pages, and it's a bit disappointing. Or they have a small cutout in the corner, right next to a big picture, of Federer or
Cristiano.
someone else. It's our sports, it's our athletes. Let's show them some love. Let's make sure that we push the sports that way. Part of the reason why the sports do not get the funding that they probably should is because the media as well does not offer them the sort of spotlight that it should put on them.
Yeah, I think you are absolutely right, and I think one of the things that we have done at News Libre as a team is we have said, listen, there's BBC covering the Premier League, there's so and so covering whichever Spanish La Liga and so on. So we're saying, listen, we'll cover that a little bit, but we're going to focus more on what is happening in Uganda, what is happening more in Africa, because we want to be able to reach a point where we're also happy to see a KCCA jersey being worn across the street. Actually, this is something that I found on Twitter. They said, listen, the sports Carven graphic looks absolutely amazing. Can we have some of the local players on those graphics that you're designing? And I said, listen, it's okay. We'll work on this next time. For the next episode, we'll try and make those edits.
Yeah, but that one is on you.
But as we wrap up with basketball, some of the players that really did stand out for me were Tony Drileba. You look at him from City Oil, absolutely an amazing player. When it comes up against my Pemba Warriors or Chambogo Warriors, it's always devastating because I want us to win. But when you look at Tony Drileba, he knows how to sink in the threes. But Wainwright, the gentleman who happens to be playing from France, came in with quite a performance and came in at the right time when Uganda actually needed him the most. Opong as well coming in to provide that kind of support as well. And at the end of the day, we now have a team that is lacking of the likes of Stephen Okias. It's lacking of the players like Stephen Omonyi, who have really gone past. Stephen Okias retired from the game. Stephen Omonyi is looking like it's just a matter of time before he announces his retirement from the game. But it's good to see that we now have fresh players coming in to start representing the national team, and they are putting in quite the shift.
Yeah, I mean, I do not have Ishmael Wainwright's numbers from Baylor U. I hope he at least made the team on one of those
Yeah.
occasions during the NCAA, because it would be great to always say that, yeah, we have Ishmael Wainwright from an alumni of Baylor U, and he played in the
Yeah.
NCAA, but I can't claim that here now until I have proper evidence of
The,
that.
the proper figures.
Yeah, but hopefully, because I mean that's a very exciting thing to see a player of that caliber come onto the scene and put up big numbers in a game that
Yeah.
we needed, push us to the next level, and hopefully we can keep having such emergent talents. Maybe we have more from outside. Hopefully we can develop the game, because those guys are able to pull the game along with them. So that level of player comes onto the scene in Uganda, it's able to pull the game along. We're able to integrate more of the high level sort of game planning and sets that are run at that level of basketball, because that's NCAA programs feed the NBA directly. So that level of basketball is able to be we are able to impart some of that onto the other players we have locally, and that can push the game forward. I mean, we have North Texas and Baylor. These are the guys who are now playing for us, so that will help us along the way. Hopefully we can do something later and we can try and qualify and then put on something and show up on the scene for basketball in the country. I really hope so, because we like watching the sport, we enjoy it. It's always disappointing when we can't have when we can't have any representation on that scene. We have really tall guys in Uganda. I'm not one of them. Moses,
And
you're not one
neither
of
am
them
I.
either.
I think when you look at the three of us, it could be Ruben who is the tallest.
I think
Ruben is our Shaquille O'Neal.
Ruben would be playing a power forward for us. I don't know, but that's the thing. So we have the guys out there. I've seen some of the players out there. So hopefully we can push the sport to the next level, and Uganda as a whole, we can start to enjoy our own basketball and not have to worry about entering for free at
Lugogo.
at Lugogo. Yeah, so
The free syndrome, the free syndrome. But gentlemen, that's basketball in Uganda for the time being, and we'll just run through the Uganda Premier League. The Uganda Premier League slated to have started this week, that has just concluded. There were so many issues. Player licensing had not been affirmed for some of the clubs. Stadia for some of the clubs had also not been affirmed. But we did have the Uganda Premier League kickoff, and we had KCCA starting off against Bright Stars with a comfortable, not quite comfortable as they would have wanted, but a 2-1 win they picked up against Bright Stars, a team that, if you look at last season, Bright Stars could have actually been the one that have beaten KCCA home and away. But because of a couple of things here and there that we'll probably not talk about now, KCCA managed to pick up one of the wins as well. So Premier League, we got to see it starting. AC Villa, who have been so busy off the pitch in the preseason, did not get off the mark as they would have wanted. They went out and got to a 2-2 draw. Then, of course, you look at Express as well, who have also been extremely busy in the window, buying almost every single player there is, signing every single big company there is on the market as a sponsor. I think they're the only team in Uganda that actually have a legitimate kit maker in Ambro. They also went ahead to Odumparaka at Greenlight Stadium, a place that not many teams can actually go to and pick up a result. They went and picked up a 1-1 draw against Odumparaka, quite a result for them. But many had expected Express to start off the season with a bang. So there's that. But the surprise leader in Uganda at the moment is UPDF. They won their game by 4 goals, and because of the goal difference that they have, they find themselves as the Arsenal of Uganda at the moment, leading the table. But
but Moses, you need to take us seriously. Eh? It was a draw fest in the Uganda Premier League with over what 8 draws. It was a crazy draw fest, and only 2 games had an actual outright winner. So yes, UPDF can be top. I think at some point this year, Leeds was top of the Premier League. So let's not get too far ahead of ourselves.
That's what I'm saying. They are UPDF is current Arsenal of the Premier League, because we all know where Arsenal is at the moment. I think they are probably 16.
Were they top at all?
Wait, they were not top at all. It was Everton and then
wait. Arsenal topped when the fixtures came out, because they were
when we are not yet kicked off the game. Yes. Very brilliant. But yes, so
if I do this banter or be offended as an Arsenal fan.
You take it for anything.
To Spurs today, so problems.
It's not quite a good evening for you.
At least England pulled through, but Arsenal, we are maybe Chagulanyi will help us with Arsenal also.
Oh man,
we hope something happens. But
that red color is taking L's.
Man, the L's that are coming from that side are just impeccable. But I think that is it for the Uganda Premier League. We know that the defending champions, Vipers, have been involved in a different game altogether. That is the CAF Champions League qualifier. And so right about now, they are back from the CAF Champions League qualifier. They're supposed to have played in midweek. So there's also that. So I think when you look at the Premier League of Uganda altogether, the disorganizations are up there. The league is going on. So for the football fans, we are happy that the league is going on. But in terms of us who are a little bit in the media, you're asking yourself, can the disorganization at the top actually reduce? But I think disorganization and Ugandan sports is a little bit synonymous.
They move hand in hand. There's no way we have Ugandan sports without disorganization. Whether it's us not paying the national team coach or doing whichever funny business, we have to find it. Even when we are winning, we have players. Our first African Cup of Nations in ages trying to boycott games. So disorganization and us, we move together quite handily as Ugandans. So we love it. It's our way.
True. All right, we'll probably move in quickly into the next sport and see how best we can, try and break it down, because we are quickly running out of time.
I would love to go through the next sport, but maybe we should just hit the European scene.
No, please run us through the next sport in probably a minute or two, and then we run to the European scene.
Oh man. Okay, let me take you so you can have at the Uganda men's golf, please.
So there's a bit of the men's golf. Luckily for Uganda men's golf, I think the only foreign player around is the Zimbabwean, who was giving us a bit of a run for it. But it seems more like the way the women's affair was. It's majorly a local festival. So I don't know. What did you pick from this, Ian?
Again, I will say if you invite people and they don't show up for a tournament which you're supposed to be hosting against those people, you host it amongst yourselves, then we can just let it be. You go out there, you hit a few parts of golf, one walk across the park, one here, one there, how many under, over, and then we end the weekend and you move on to the next sport. Golf is that kind of sport that when the top guys are playing it, it's entertaining. They want you to be very quiet, which is not in the spirit of sport in itself, apart from tennis, but in tennis, they let you up loud for an extended period of time. In golf, they want you to be extremely quiet.
Extremely quiet until when there's a winner, and then you all scream with the winner.
And I don't think this is the kind of sport I would like to talk about, to be honest. So he's at the third hole, about to take the 16th. He's going to use the 9 under. That is not... I'm sorry. You wanted this on there, so I've given it to you. It's right there. That is all we have for golf this week.
All right, let's cross over to the international scene then. Formula One. Really, really unfortunate that we're unable to have Ernest on this show because, I was having a chat with some people online and we're saying, listen, for all the love we have for George Russell, we want the gods of Formula One to appear to show to the world that, listen, Formula One is not just about the car. It's also about the driver. It's about the decisions the driver makes. It's about the strategy that sets in motion. It's about every other element. There's the 30 seconds can be of a much difference. And you see, for George Russell, first of all, the circuit played really into his favor. It was a brilliant circuit for him, really. It didn't have the fast, all the corners that we had at the first Bahrain race. But the gods of Formula One worked in favor for everyone. Unfortunately for George Russell, he managed to pick points, which is a major plus for him because he's not picked any points with Williams. But today he finds himself in points position. But for Formula One gods and for Lewis Hamilton's respect, we're spared the blushes.
And I think he will end up with 0 points after the weekend is done. So he's going to be disqualified for that little incident where they had him run out with Bottas's tires. Unbelievable from Mercedes.
Wow. Unbelievable.
But unbelievable. I was trying to make this point across that the moment they called for them to pit a double stack under safety car on hard tires that could go to the end of the race.
End of the race, yes.
Yes, under safety car for a front wing on the final corner. It was an extremely risky strategy that was always going to be. They were going to cut it close. You're going to pit for those tires. Yes, they probably pulled it off if they did not put on the wrong tires, but because it's such a late call, they made the call while the drivers were in the third sector. So that means that by the time this is one of the most stupid tracks that you'll ever find. It's a 54-second track. So by the time by the time you make the call, the driver is probably almost at the safety car line. I mean, at this point in time, that's a strategy. I think, to be honest, Hamilton would have given it another lap. That's what I think.
True.
Because the last time they did that with the in, out, in, he didn't like it very much. And since then, he always gives himself a buffer. He's like, okay, I remember the time they told him to pit for tires under safety car, and he said no, I'll keep it out here. I have the ability to hold the car. And that's the thing that's the kind of power that George doesn't have, and that's what happened today. They had to run out with a bunch of tires really quickly. These guys had to make quick decisions, and they put on the wrong tires. Bottas went on there, and then as they're putting on the tires for Bottas, the front left engineer notices that, these say Russell, and then it's a mess from there on. He's like, no, this say Russell. So Bottas gets to get away with these points, and Russell, the poor kid, now probably gets nothing from this weekend. So it's a bit disappointing. But I mean, you can say whatever you say about that.
I wish we had an image showing Russell standing by the side as this guy is being worked on. I think he was in utter disbelief with whatever was going on for quite the rest that he had. He didn't get what he had wanted to have. But Sergio Perez making quite a statement for himself. Saying, listen, guys, I've had quite a phenomenal season. I've been racking in the points for Racing Point. I am probably right now. I've won my first Grand Prix. How about someone picks me up? And Red Bull, with the way Albon has been performing this season, Red Bull will definitely be looking at Sergio Perez.
I'm so happy for Checo. You have no idea. Like, there are a few things that happen in Formula One, right? And some of those include disrespect. Checo was one of the most talented drivers coming out as a young driver. He actually got promoted to McLaren a bit too early, but he has continued to show that he's been an excellent driver on his day.
Driver.
Of course, maybe he had Carlos Slim money and he didn't really care that much. He didn't really try to push that much. And maybe he hadn't realized his abilities and his talents. But this year, after he realized he had no seat, they were like, yeah, we like your drag money, but not so much. Daddy Stroll was like, I got the bucks and I'm trying to see something.
Yeah.
So he had to show that he has the ability. And my word, has he come on with what he's able to do?
With the results.
He's been excellent after they told him that he had no seat. Before that, he was flailing around. And then they told him, you have no seat. And he was like, well, I'm going to show you something. And he's been on it. He's been driving the wheels off of that
point.
No, the pink Mercedes.
The pink Mercedes, yes.
Yes, he's been driving crazy, and I'm happy for him to finally get his first win in Formula One. Of course, people don't realize that this win doesn't happen if the other guy is around for the weekend.
Isn't
because he should have won in Turkey if that guy wasn't around in Turkey. But these are the things that they won't tell you when they're saying that it's the car. We have to respect the ability of this number 44 that I'm not going to name him. We don't have to name him on this weekend. He deserves his respect. We don't have to name him on this weekend. We can call out George Russell for thinking he could pull off the hammer time and everything. So yeah. But no, I'm really relieved that we don't have to have this conversation for a week, and hopefully we don't.
Listen. I had the biggest embarrassment of listening to some friends on radio talk about how it's all about the car because of the practice that was on Friday. I'm probably like, listen, it's all about the car. There's nothing special about Lewis Hamilton. And I said, first and foremost, Lewis Hamilton helps with the manufacture, with the development of this car. He's the one who says, tweak this, tweak here, make this better. So if the car is good, it's because Lewis Hamilton has put his effort into making sure that car is infinitely what he wants it to be. And so George Russell was basically coming in to fit into the works of what Lewis Hamilton has been doing over a period of time.
Yep. And he definitely had to wear smaller size shoes. No, but I mean, it was a great weekend of racing. I mean, I was very happy for Ocon, a driver that many had written off.
Yeah,
coming back into Formula One this year, he's not been afforded the respect that he deserves for a very talented young driver. Young Stroll can tell more people to, do that thing that we won't say over air. I don't know. But young Stroll also has the opportunity to do that too. So I'm really happy for those guys. Bottas, I don't know, man. At this point, Valtteri is not doing himself any favors. He needs more.
I was really, really hoping that this would have been Valtteri's race, because I wanted him to make a statement that in the absence of 44, he is the man to hold down the team, and he didn't do himself or anyone who really backs him any justice. Even after this, even during the race, everyone was saying, listen, I think Mercedes signed Bottas quite too early. They could have waited to see what would have happened at the end of the season. But again, a decision has to be made.
I think they didn't think that Russell was ready, and now they've put Russell in the car, and then they saw that maybe this kid is ready. They've blown it up for him. He hasn't done anything wrong this weekend, much as we laugh about it. Mercedes has properly blown up his race. His opportunity at a first win. Kid was about to get a win before some very big names in there. So, yeah, they've blown it up for him. So they probably have to find a way of making it up. I don't think they can cancel their contractual obligations to Valtteri. So he'll go back to Williams. He'll remember that he had the ability to drive a crazy car, and then next weekend he'll be pulling along a troller. So, lots of fun.
Driving right behind the tractor of Ferrari, but that's a conversation for another day.
We need to talk about Ferrari, because who does pit stops like that? It's like they don't care when it's Vettel. They just don't care. This man comes in for a pit stop and they're like, oh wait, are these tires? Do we put them on? Ah wait, okay.
Listen. I think probably when Veto does finally write his book about his autobiography, he'll be able to tell us the actual realities of what it meant to be a Ferrari driver in the last 2 seasons, because the treatment he's gotten this season is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
For a professional person like him, I would have thought that Ferrari would have accorded him some bit of respect. But again, we know Ferrari; they feel they are too big, to accord anyone anything. And I think that is where, for me, I have an issue with Ferrari, because quite often it's why they have been the chasing pack in the last 8 years. They have actually 12 years. They have not realized that the game has changed. The game has changed from being a game of we are the big boys to being a game of whoever does something significant in terms of being, you know, making a better car, being well organized, is the one that is actually going to compete. And now they're finding themselves chasing their own shadows.
Well, I mean, they still have the power to say whenever they feel like things aren't going their way. They have the power to say we will not be back next year, or we won't be agreeing to the next regulations, and people will listen. So now
Yeah,
they have the new director of Formula One group, former Ferrari head. So I think you can see that they're getting their power back. They're getting control. Also, we know they were cheating last year, and they managed to push that under the carpet, and everyone knows it happened, and it was pushed under the rug. And they're like, yeah, we're not saying anything about that. That's our agreement. So Ferrari still believe they have their power, and they can do whatever they want. They have a young Charles. They're getting signs and possibly signs. I mean, there's so much that happened in this race that we've missed. Like Sainz got screwed over as well during
during the race.
The pit stops. He was in third. He probably could have been fast if they'd not pitted him, and he would have won the race. So
the race, yeah.
Well, maybe next time when we have a little more time, we can go over. Maybe we can schedule something to follow up, because there's so much to talk about. But yeah,
there's so much, yeah, definitely. But we're fast running out of time. The English Premier League. Ruben, do we start with Arsenal?
I mean, we start with the game that has just ended.
So that we can move on to other things.
Strike where the iron is good. Arsenal fans, how do you feel?
Like, I don't understand what's happening with Arsenal right now. We are trying to now solve the problems at the back. Now all of a sudden the people in front can't score. There's lack of creativity. I don't know. It's crazy. I don't know
Ruben,
if you guys have an answer.
Ruben, for me, I have this thing that I'm about to say that most people probably will disagree with me. I have a feeling that Arteta, as the only thing he has done in that defense is add good players in those departments. But you can see that the same mistakes Arsenal has been making over the years are the same mistakes that I'm making now as a club. Right now, Arsenal is in utter negatives of goal difference. This is probably the worst start they have had in over probably 30 or 40 years as a club. So,
but I think Arsenal have been defensively better.
They have been better because of the players that they have.
Today, for me, the problem in today's game, which I watched like a few minutes until I noticed this was going to be a hiding. If Tottenham didn't come out in the second half to take 0 shots, this was going to be a proper hiding. Like when the game started and Arsenal had what looked like a relatively solid base to play on, and then they got sucked into Tottenham's game, because Tottenham is sitting deep and they're playing it long, and they're saying, wait, have the ball, do something with it. So Arsenal haven't set up in a very creative style. It's the same old system that he seems to trot out every weekend. And
the system of get the ball pass to the left, throw it to Aubameyang, and it never works. It never works.
But now they've pushed up to a high line. This is right now, Tottenham is the most, maybe second to Chelsea, but Chelsea can't finish to save their lives. Tottenham is the second most dangerous team on the counter attack. Probably the most dangerous because they take their chances when they get them. That is a very stupid game to play. Arteta knew exactly what Tottenham was going to do. They did exactly what he expected them to do, and he still fell for it. Of course, Son's goal, the first goal, was absolutely incredible. And at that point, I knew the game was over because this is a Jose Mourinho side. This is a second season. Well, maybe 1.5 seasons in, but this is his style. Once players start to buy into what they're doing, and once they start seeing the results, they will believe in this style. They have these guys who can finish. And once I saw that goal going, I knew Arsenal were in for a very, very long night because they were already pushing up. That second goal was so disappointing on so many levels. Tottenham had 4 men running on 2 Arsenal defenders, and I was like, what is this nonsense?
What is the nonsense? Yes. I mean, you see, quite often the goals they concede, the Arsenal defenders seem to be in out of focus moment. They seem to be sleeping, or they seem to be waiting to hear an instruction from Arteta. And then there are times when they are moving in all. You find 4 players are moving in the same position, or you can find 8 players of Arsenal, but they are all out of position, which for me begs the question: what defensively has been worked on? Because if you have been, I mean, you take lessons from Jose Mourinho defensively. If you're going to have the likes of Eric, if you're going to have Vertonghen and Sanchez in that defense, the rest of you're going to be with your man. You're not going to leave him at any one moment. Arsenal seems to be doing the defensive setup of the triangle, or what you'd call the diamond defending, and also they're trying to do the zonal marking, which does not work. And also if you're playing against a very fast team like Tottenham Hotspurs.
Yeah, I mean, to defend against the counter, you need to apply both principles of zone and zonal marking and man marking. So you need to know who to man mark. That is the player who's going to be the outlet from deep. So that's the player who's going to be playing that ball over the top. That's the one you need to man mark, and then you need to apply. Yeah, you need to apply zones for the fast players who are going to be coming at you, because you can't assign them to an individual man, because that man is going to be torn to shreds. So those 2 principles need to be applied. But if your man marker is Thomas Partey, and then you're asking him to get involved in the game, he's then being drawn out of position to where he has to affect the man that is going to release the ball on the counter. Mourinho played Lo Celso simply for the one purpose that he knew what you were going to do. And so he changed his outlet. He changed his passing outlet. And all of a sudden, it's like you don't have the ability to respond. I do not have any doubt that Arteta may be a good manager, but the ability to respond in game, first of all, to the personnel. You look at the personnel that your opponent has put forward, and then you have to respond to that. You have to make changes. You have to realize that, this is probably what he's going after today. And then make changes or adjustments to that. You know exactly what is coming at you, and you still fall for it. I saw a joke on Twitter that Arteta is that mouse that comes over to a mouse trap, sees a big chunk of cheese, knows that it's a mouse trap. It says on it that this is a mouse trap, and still takes a bite of the cheese. It's what happened today. So you can't say much about that.
I don't think we want to say much about us, but I just need Ruben to help me here. Ruben, do we need?
I think what I have to say about Arsenal is every season, I make up my mind that, you know what, let me get the entire kit this season. The home, the away, the alternate. Something goes wrong. So again, I'm now contemplating, let me just use that money to go and get a New England shirt or something. I don't know.
But Ruben, as
I don't know if you guys the kind of situation that I'm in. I've grown up watching football, especially with my father. My father, meanwhile, is a Man U fan. For some reason, I don't know how I became an Arsenal fan. And
you are rebelling. He was rebelling. That's definitely rebellion.
So I've seen so much heartbreak that I'm at this point of indifference right now. But of course, you still feel some pain here and there. But anyway, we move.
Probably what we'll do, Ruben, is we'll send you a Leeds United jersey and you transfer to Leeds because Bamford seems to be trying to do something for them.
Those Cobham boys. I'm telling
I'm
you.
a very good collector of jerseys. I think I should get the Leeds jersey as well.
I think you should try out. Oh, I was going to say you should try out Wolves away. Probably the cleanest look this year.
Yeah,
The Portuguese kit that they have.
that kit is neat, very neat.
Man,
Cleanest.
But Ruben, as we leave the issue of Arsenal, can we fly you to London and you train Bellerin on how to make throw-ins?
It's been the conversation that has been going on social media. Like, man, we are in 2020 and a grown man can't throw a ball to save life. Like, man,
that man has had more throw-in fouls
the thing about us
than I have seen my entire life. Bellerin is just focused on planting trees. He's forgotten how to throw in. This is ridiculous.
I think it's also a cultural thing. I think it's a cultural thing, and I thought Arteta had actually come and tried to sort that out. But I think it's also a cultural thing within the squad because I feel like these players these days are being pampered too much. I feel like I don't know. They don't care even if they are losing. You don't see any. You see, there is a loss that you can see where a team is fighting. The fighting spirit. You do not need to be brilliant to have the fighting spirit. And I don't see the fight in Arsenal every game I try to watch. I don't see any fight. So
but Mikel Arteta.
One of the things that I always find to be overlooked is Arsenal has gone ahead and signed some rejects from some London club. I will not say which club. And they've turned those players into the backbone of the club. Those players have lived a certain life for a while, a certain belief that this is not their club. It's very hard to turn them around and turn them into proper lovers
believers.
Of that football club. And then you compound that by ousting one of your greatest players.
Most important.
Moreover, before a season starts, you don't do that. You do not do that because when you need him now you need him now. But what do? You can't go back on your decision because it's going to make you look weak and you're going to lose your authority within the group. But as well as the fact that since you already took that decision beforehand, you've disenfranchised the few players who are thinking, wait, that could happen to me, right? I'm putting everything forward that I can put forward, and that could happen to me, or because he just didn't want you to use his reduced salary to do funny business of money saving. He wanted you to reduce his salary while you're going to make actual signings that were going to be what? Tangible. And so you decide that you want to throw this player out. That means that this player is actually looking out for the club more than you are looking out for the club. You're looking to line your wallets. And this is why you end up in a situation where no one really cares.
Well, it's a bit.
Is it particularly that, or is it because there's also this side that talks about his political ideologies and everything, and his stand on racism and certain things with Germany, that it could be a whole different thing that's stopping him from playing. I don't know how true that is.
If you don't want, I feel very strongly about that point simply because that is extremely hypocritical from the Arsenal hierarchy or whoever is peddling that message. You can't say that you want to give players a voice and power and the ability to speak their truth, right? Let them be judged for their truth, but then don't actually blackball them for the truth that they've chosen to speak. We saw this happen. We saw this happen in the NFL, and now everyone is saying, "Oh, Black Lives Matter," and we are taking a knee for this. This man says that he was racially
abused.
Yes. And that is something that you need to take seriously. The people who came out against them, Karl-Heinz Rummenigge, have you heard some of the things that guy has said?
He's a very crazy, I don't know if he thinks, I think he's a Donald Trump of football.
That's the thing. So let's be okay. So yes, he's been with the Turkish leaders who I can't. He's of Turkish descent, so I can't fault him for that. But then
Yeah.
again, he also has to know the optics of that. You can't say one thing this side and do one thing the other
One
side.
thing at the other side.
Yes. So, but let that play out in real time. Don't cut him off from his ability to do what he loves to do. Don't cut him out from the ability of being in front of a TV screen because you think it's bad optics for your finances, which is what these businesses do at the end of the day. And it is what it is for Ozil in the sport now.
Gentlemen, we have spent a lot of time on a very useless team like Arsenal than we should have. But I
No,
think
there's a saying which I don't know how it translates, but something like that. For some reason, there's more to talk about when something. Yes. There's more to talk about when things are bad than there is when things are going great. So in things that are going great, Tottenham is doing great. I see
they're currently leaders on the table.
Yeah, outright leaders. Liverpool are right there with them. So is Chelsea and Leicester City. And for some reason, these guys in red, the Zebra chaps, are up to 5th. I don't know what's happening there.
Man, we'll need to talk about that Zebra team. Yeah, but as we conclude Arsenal, I think the only time Aubameyang is enjoying playing football is when he links up with Ozil during training. But we'll talk about that some other time. Anyhow.
Man.
Gentlemen, Manchester United, in probably 2 minutes, quite a team, but quite a dependent team, but also Bruno Fernandes. We saw them against Fulham. Quite a shambles in the first half without Bruno Fernandes. Couldn't put together a couple of passes. In the second half, though, Paul Pogba thrown into the deep end. Bruno Fernandes is brought in, and the game suddenly changed onto its toes. Well, rather, West Ham.
I have so many things to say about that game that I'll just say none. I'll just keep my feelings to myself. But
are you fearing being stoned?
Okay, Bruno is a very good footballer. I respect him. Yes. Extremely talented. And United goes as he goes, right? Yeah. But playing a slide rule pass on the edge of the penalty area is McTominay should be able to do that, right? This is all about a wonderful finish from Pogba. A brilliant finish from Pogba. That finish takes everyone out of the play. And then everyone is like, another assist for big man Bruno. But it's not important. Also,
it's not about
that ball went out of play. That 1-1 should not be. That 1-1 disorganizes everything, because now West Ham are like, wait, but that went out of play.
That was a play,
Yes, and they're disenfranchised. And in that moment, if you've ever felt cheated in a game of sports, it's very hard for you to get yourself recentered. And before anything, 2-1, right? And then the game is over. So
true.
I have very many feelings about that game. But yes, brilliant win for Man United. They continue to win from losing positions. I think they've gotten like 6 games so far from losing positions.
Losing positions, yeah.
Yeah, apart from PSG. And maybe in Europe.
You just could have told yourself. I
like it. I like the banter. I like going after other teams. I love it very much. But Man United, they're doing surprisingly well. Like they're still close and could be in for a challenge. Yeah. Do you think so?
I think they could be in, but right now, when you look at the table, I said this at the beginning I said this after I think 5-6 games, and probably I'll keep saying it until when the footballing gods decide to play madness. That for me, the teams that should be really going out for this title have to be Chelsea and Tottenham Hotspur. They have almost everything that they need to go out there and win the title. It's going to come down to who knows how to bottle it better than the other. And at the end of the day, we have to see what is Jose Mourinho's plan. Is he going to continue with this kind of players? Is he going to add up a couple of players at the end of the end of the season? You look at say also you look at Chelsea. For Frank Lampard, the question is going to be on how the players are going to remain fit, because we all know how Chelsea has always been affected with the fitness levels. So these are all going to play a massive role. But for Manchester City, though, I think Man City and United, for me, they might play a big role in deciding who gets to walk away with the title, as per now.
I mean, I can't really say much about the Chelsea team. It's been a work in progress for a while. It's starting to fire. They have one of the craziest defensive records around. Well, Mourinho just took his to another level today because some people fire blanks like crazy. So Chelsea have two very good teams at this point. They could roll out two very good 11s. So major injuries, I think the only really concerning injuries would be to the goalkeeper.
Yes, you lose Mendy and
you're back to Mr. No Saves hologram. So
yes,
as a side, you saw yesterday they lose Hakim Ziyech early in the game, and you have Pulisic coming off the bench, right?
Yeah.
That's insane. That's stupid. You can't have Pulisic coming off the bench for Hakim Ziyech, and then you have Timo Werner, who couldn't hit a bando with the backside of a banjo right now, but at least he's affecting games.
Remember what we said last time? Timo Werner misses to show off, and he seems to be doing it more often than he's scoring the goals.
I think at this point he's just showing off with his misses. He alone gets more chances than the entire team, and he wastes them. Yesterday he even took one out from goal. It was headed in, and he was like, no. Let me first make this.
Let me take it out.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Probably this is why Frank Lampard needs to give more time to the greatest player of all time, the GOAT Olivier Giroud.
Oh yeah, that man is brilliant. He's been on it. He's been amazing, to be honest. Like
I will never forgive Unai Emery for selling Olivier Giroud. That one I can never forgive.
I'm sorry, there are very many things you should not forgive him for, and Olivier Giroud should be very low on that list.
No, Olivier Giroud is one of those players that he should never have sold. But of course, you talk about Aaron Ramsey as well. Let's go on with the table.
Yeah, but I mean, you look at Liverpool. Klopp continues to play his mind games.
Yeah.
They're getting their players back. I think this man tore his ACL and he's back running, which is insane.
Yeah. I think. Yes, Ruben. Was Ruben saying something?
I'm not very sure. I was saying Van Dijk tore his ACL and he's back playing.
I'm listening to what you guys are saying, actually.
Okay. Yeah, I think for Virgil van Dijk, it was good to see him training just recently. And I think he still has a couple of probably 2 months out before he can get back. And I think that has been very quick and swift treatment of his injury, because he was out. He was meant to be out for 9 months, but already seeing him in the gym, putting in the kind of work, it's testament to what.
He still has 6 months. So. Yeah, it doesn't matter whether he's back running or he's back doing what. ACLs don't mess around. I think we'll tackle that topic in the next series, but you can see what it does to your entire mechanics as
an athlete. Yeah,
as an athlete, what it does to your entire mechanics, the body mechanics, whether you favor the leg when you get back or things like that. You can find, like, you see now Clay.
Yeah,
he tore his Achilles. So the ACL is not something that you take lightly. I know very many people walk around without ACLs because when you get at a certain age, it doesn't matter, and you're not an athlete, so you don't need it. but as an athlete, you need it for the knee stability. So they can't rush him even if he's showing very good progress.
Yeah. Well, the English Premier League, at least we have hinted on a couple of really big teams. Liverpool at the moment is leading by 1-0. And that only means that they go up second onto the table, pushing Chelsea back to third, Leicester City to fourth, and Manchester United to fifth. And then Man City are currently at sixth position. Of course, we'll only go as far as the Europa League positions are concerned. If you have not had your team, we are very apologetic, but we are not sorry. Just send an email to your team and ask them to do a little bit better. Ruben, I think you'll be able to carry this message forth.
we made sure that team was visible when we were cropping.
Yeah, but don't think this will be happening every day. Next
week we only have the top 10. So strive
the top 10.
Yes.
All right. I think we'll now cross over to the US and quickly look at what's happening in the NFL and see.
NFL or NBA?
NBA. Yeah, let's
just a quick run through the NBA as it stands.
Yeah. I think with the trades we have seen John Wall crossing over from the Washington Wizards to go to Houston Rockets. I don't know who is getting a better deal here. Probably the Wizards are getting a better deal because Westbrook is not as injury prone as John Wall, but they are literally the same mold of players. So the only thing that the Wizards are getting over the Rockets is a player who is a little bit much fitter.
The only problem I have with the Rockets
to fit into a team, because we are clearly seeing that Westbrook might be a one-man army rather than a team player. And who is that?
True.
Ideal if you have playoff aspirations.
Well, you look for Bradley Beal to be traded before the deadline. No, I'm telling you the truth. He just won't do it. I think at this point we can all accept that Westbrook is the kind of alpha that takes over a team. He wants all the rebounds. He wants all the shots. He wants everything. So I don't think anyone wins this trade. I think they just swap like for like pieces, maybe with one being healthier than the other, and also maybe the Houston lifestyle the Houston lifestyle would fit John Wall better, and I guess they can hang out more with Harden, those
James
Houston
Harden
street clubs. So bills all over the place. Those clubs are going to be on fire at least.
I mean, I was seeing on Instagram, James Harden was giving, is it Da Baby? Some artist called it Da Baby or something. Gave him a Gucci bag, then gave him a watch, then gave him a few bundles of 100 bills.
So the total offer was a Gucci bag that's $120,000, 140K watch, and 200K in cash.
Basically, the man spent over 500,000 on his birthday.
Yep, and he's got it.
Ruben,
the rich get richer.
Ruben, when are you going to be the spread for us?
I can boil you some tea.
You want your man to sweat some more?
I'm already sweating a little bit, yeah? So, but yes, the LA Lakers, though, on the other side, fantastic news for them retaining LeBron James, which was never in question. I think LeBron James found his final destination, and I think he wants to, after these 2 years, he'll probably hang up his boots and call it quits on the game that he has been in for the last 17 years. So 2 years for him, a good deal, $85 million. That means he's walking away with $82 million every year. That's an incredible deal for him. But the best deal that they did was giving this gentleman, Anthony
I think you
Davis,
got the
a 4-year
numbers
deal.
wrong.
Sorry?
I think you got the numbers wrong on the LeBron deal.
How much was he given?
On the Paya number, because I think it was a total of 85 for 2 years.
Yes.
So that's about 42.5 every year.
42.5 every year.
Yeah,
Quite
yeah,
incredible money.
right up there with Steph.
I mean, but I mean, he's arguably still the face of basketball. How someone can continue to be the face of basketball for all that while, even in the evening of his career, is testament to the kind of athlete that he is.
He's
But
an alien.
Anthony Davis is an alien. I think that's the explanation.
He was
only
expected,
been injured once.
Yeah. He was expected to be great from when he was a 15-year-old, right?
And he's lived up to it.
And he's gone beyond that. Well,
True.
We probably wanted more titles from him, but he ran into a juggernaut in between there, and then some crazy Spurs Renaissance team there.
Dynasty.
Yeah, so he's done the best with what he could do with. Sometimes he's been the architect of his own failure, but
downfall.
Yeah, he's still been a great player. The Lakers did all the right moves that they could pull off this summer. They've built a crazy roster. They've added lots of help off the bench. Some big guys. They got bigger, actually. They tried to go for some very, very big guys. I mean,
big guys.
It's going to come down again to Los Angeles, the Clips or the Lakers. I mean, if the Clips have a proper season this year, they may do something. Though I did not like the interview that Paul George had. It was a crazy interview. I think he's been drinking a bit too much of his own Kool-Aid, to be honest. Like he was talking about how Doc was playing him like a bum, and he was like, Paul George, I can't be played like a catch and shoot. And I was like, really, dude, really?
You're saying all this?
Yeah, like which part of your game of your game in the playoffs or prior to that has given you the right to speak like that about a championship winning coach? It makes sense why Doc jumped ship the moment he had the opportunity to, because that's about as toxic as that group could get at the moment.
I mean, I think you've seen. Yes, Ruben.
That they like to use Doc Rivers as a scapegoat. I don't remember what exactly Kawhi Leonard said, but even he himself, he was kind of pointing that direction. Like, man, he had no plan B. But man, they had a 3-1. They had a 3-1. Even
they had the 3-1.
And you give me that position, I don't think I would have blown that. Honestly,
Kawhi talked about rotations and play calls, plays out of timeouts, the POTs, the PTOs, whatever they call it, play out of timeout.
Yes.
And for some reason, they seem to fail to realize that these plays were always called for the two of them, and they are the two guys who bricked. They bricked their way out of the NBA contention last year. You cannot put it on the coach. The coach put you in the position to be in challenging for games. When teams went on huge runs against them, it was always those two on the court. It was never a moment where, yes, it wasn't when the bench players were out there. The Austin Rivers were out there and crew, and they were actually competing. And when these guys would come out, the offense would stall. So that means that the ball running through these two guys was always the problem. So how did they want to play? Did they have better ideas on how they wanted to play? Look at what LeBron did with the Lakers. He realized that we need to change up our offense. Do I become a point? Or how can I play point in a system that allows everyone around me to flourish, right? Do I drive inside? If I drive inside, I'll be getting in the way of AD's game. So how do I play off the elbow? These are things that as a player you have to find sometimes, or you have to, I mean, that's why LeBron is great. He can be a coach on the court and off the court. So
off the court.
Yes, and so all Frank Vogel had to worry about was how to organize his defense. And my God, what a defense that was! What a
I
defense
think
that was!
I've heard people saying that the Lakers, when they lost out on Avery Bradley, they have lost out on that is Danny Green. They have lost out on the core of their defense, and I'm thinking every and also Dudley, and I'm thinking, listen, the main architect of the defense is still with the team, and that is
Yes.
Frank Vogel.
Yep.
If he's still with this team, he's going to find a way of making sure that this team is very good defensively, because he knows that offensively they are going to deliver for him. It's a question of how do you get these players to play good defense for you at the end of the day. And he has the big players. He still has, Markieff Morris. You still have,
And that was
you
the
now.
key. The Markieff Morris retention was the key for their D. Because
Yes,
he's
exactly.
6'8". He's 6'8", and he can stretch from pretty much being a 1 to a 2 to a 3
2 or
to
2.
a 4, and he can defend all those positions. He can shift even against nifty point guards. So retaining him keeps your defense intact, to be honest. Like, yeah, having small guys like Danny Green is great and all that, but if because their defense was mainly off of scheme, it wasn't
Yeah.
mainly off of how good were they man on man. They were very much a scheme defense. You see how they would suffocate the ball, they would push you out of the paint, and then on the perimeter is where you have to have people who have legs to keep with the shooters. But other than that, the defense was mainly scheme. So the Lakers continue to be the team to beat. I don't see anyone getting close to that. We need to
Wrap
move
up.
on, but I mean, there's a lot to talk about with these sports, and a lot to come to. I think we can always look at the East. I think the East, we have
The Miami Heat still to beat. Yeah.
well, lots of moves have been made by.
Actually, a lot of moves have been made by the Milwaukee Bucks that have quite been impressive if you were to really look at that roster, because they brought in a couple of really good players. I thought that they would have gone for that is a CP3, Chris Paul, to add a little bit of leadership to that team, but they didn't. So we'll wait and see. The Suns benefited though.
The world of basketball is very, very strange, right? It looks like it's
Very.
one way. Like, you have to have a few staples, right? And Chris Paul is a choking staple. Like, that's a choking hazard. So the Suns are going to choke. That, that's going to happen already. He's a great player. He likes a choke.
But
so the Suns are going to choke already. I mean, I would be more worried of Memphis, to be honest. They seem like they're building a very good core. The people are ignoring Portland, exciting team.
Trailblazers.
Yeah, the Portland the exciting team that they've put together. Of course, the Jazz will be the Jazz.
The Dallas Mavericks also seem to be organizing something on their.
Again, I have this problem with certain teams, especially ones where we have breakout stars like Doncic. Luka
Doncic,
brilliant. He's amazing, but that organization is trash.
Toxic. Yep.
So let's see what happens. We are ignoring some other big elephants in the room that may turn into a problem. Everyone does not think that the Warriors will be any good.
I think the Warriors will be good this time around. They will be.
They
good.
have
they have
two players who are bubbling. The two players who are bubbling, right? Two players who this year they either take the leap into the next stage of their careers. They are both 25, right? Wiggins has been in the NBA for so long, you forget that he's only that young.
Yeah.
And he's been in some pretty toxic situations as a player as well. So maybe he finally feels settled. We said that about D'Angelo before the season started, and my word, ice in his veins, guy. Oh, the NBA is such a strange place, to be honest. But I do not think the Warriors are going to be as bad as people expect them to be. If they can get Oubre, if Oubre shoots anywhere close to 35%,
yeah,
they may
There will be a
you may
team.
have you may have a team on your hands, because all of a sudden they don't have to rely too much on Wiseman.
On Steph.
And mainly Wiseman. It's Steph will do his thing. He'll he'll jack up a few shots in the game, but it's more of what the other guys are going to do. You have Pascal, who's going to be in his second year. He was very good last year. Probably should have been challenging for Rookie of the Year if the team wasn't a dumpster fire. And they have a few guys who are first round picks on there that no one is paying attention to, because they've been from very bad situations and they've not had the opportunity to grow quite comfortably. So strange team there. It could explode or it could be another lottery pick. So
we'll see.
If Steph stabs his finger again, the season is over. They can wrap it up.
They can just close shop and go home.
Yeah.
Right. All right. Let's leave it at NBA at that, and probably use the next 10 minutes talk about what's happening in the world of NFL. Ian, you want to take us through what's happening in NFL? The Steelers seem like they are ready to steal everything. Then, of course, you talk about the Bucks in there, what's happening in that side, and the Seattle Hawks. Can they be able to challenge? Or it's a case of, listen, let's try again next season?
The NFL is in a very strange season, mainly because they've had so many issues with COVID and all that, and then rosters being a total mess. Wow, nice catch. Absolutely nice catch. Oh, sorry. No, there was a throw to Calvin Ridley in the back of the end zone. I'm watching Saints and Falcons. Anyway, so we start with the big guys, the Steelers.
Yeah.
One of the most disrespected coaches for as much as he has been able to achieve so far. Black coach, he's keeping that flag flying very high. He's put together a very good team. Last year, that defense almost dragged their basically inept offense into the playoffs. So this year they finally have Big Ben back, and they have an offense. And maybe they're not playing as well as they could on offense, but they're playing well enough to keep the defense honest. And all of a sudden they have a 13-0 team, and they'll continue. They look like they could go 16-0 at this rate. To be honest, they're playing so well. Their defense is suffocating, and I don't see anyone doing much to them. To be honest, yet they have some tough games coming up. I see they lost their bye week, so that's a big one. But they went in and they beat the Ravens. Everyone was like, "Wow, that's the
Ravens."
Again. But then again, the Ravens didn't have their quarterback crews and everything because of COVID, and but the Ravens have also been a dumpster fire over the last few games. So the NFL is a bit of a mess right now. You have in the NFC you have a division leader who's probably going to be in the playoffs, the New York Giants, who have a losing record because their division is an absolute dumpster fire. Everyone just walks over them. The Bucks, I have watched the Bucks this season a lot because we were excited about them. We were looking for what would happen with the Tom Brady and the gang, and they started off strange. Then they had a few good weeks, but it seems their play calling seems to continue to be their problem. They can't protect the quarterback, and everyone knows that if you get to Tom Brady, you're going to cause them problems. Because if you unsettle Tom Brady, he starts throwing it away or throwing it off too quickly. But then they're running this offense that is built on pretty much go routes, so defenses just have to play them simple. You play two-man zone with the two cover underneath, two safeties underneath, and you just make sure you provide support on any go route, and you can leave the middle of the field open. You dare them to run on you, they can't run the football. It's a bit disappointing. So poor from the Bucks, mostly coaching at this point. Everyone can tell it's coaching, because when Tom needs to make the throws, he makes them. Is there anything else? The Chiefs, my homeboy continues to be my homeboy. He does his thing. Yeah, they have a crazy offense. They can put up numbers in a few seconds. Tyreek Hill runs like a madman. The NFL, to be honest, it's one of the most exciting sports if you understand it. but you first have to understand it and
understand it before you enjoy it.
Yeah, that first beat is always annoying for people because it's just people running around hitting each other. You don't see the offensive schemes, the defensive schemes, and two man cover underneath. Let's say shotgun or empty backfield, 11-man or 10-man plays, or
What's funny here is we have a rugby player in the house, Mr. Ruben, and when we talk about NFL, I think he was thinking, why are we even discussing about a sport that is not a sport?
Why would you think it's not a sport?
Listen, rugby.
Let's hear from Mr. Ruben. Why would you think it's not a sport?
Those are Moses words. They didn't come out of my mouth. But I think all I can say, I think with the NFL, I've watched a couple of games, but I don't think it has hooked me as yet. I've not really picked up so much on it. Of course, everyone knows Tom Brady and the Patriots and things like that, but I wouldn't speak anything about the NFL to save my life at this point.
Yeah, I think I'm going to force people to learn the NFL. I'm going to come out with charts and say, now this is an X, this is an Y. We're talking X and O's. This is a Z route. This is a stunt route. He's running a go. This one is trying to beat soft zones within the zone defense. This is a cover fold scheme. We are going to learn the NFL. So I'm going to put together a 5-minute NFL section for teaching people how brilliant this sport is, because it's an absolutely brilliant game. Schemes. I mean, if you love sport and you take your time with the NFL, the problem is everyone only watches the NFL during the Super Bowl. So they come in, they see these guys. Those are amazing athletes who get hurt almost every weekend with some of the most gruesome injuries you can imagine. But at the end of the day, it's an entertaining sport. Once you learn, maybe we'll just have, I know what I'll do. I'll just highlight a play of the week and then sort of go through what that play is and what they're running, what the defense is running, what the offense is running, and what they're trying to look for. Because usually you're looking for zones or spots to attack, or you're attacking man on man. It's a very interesting sport, and I think as more people get to, I mean, I love lots of sports. I love all sports, which is one of my problems. I really love sport. I really, really love sport because I think it's one of those areas where it's the greatest accomplishments of competition between men and women.
Yeah.
And these athletes at the top of their game, at the top of what they do, go out there and compete against one another in whichever fields that this may be, with whether it's athletics, it's track and field, whether it's golf is not a sport, whether it's tennis.
Why is golf a sport?
Ian, in the event you're thrown stones at, you are alone on that one.
Yeah, no,
you're definitely alone on that one.
Big golf fan whenever Tiger is playing. Big golf fan.
Speaking of golf, speaking of Tiger Woods is playing with his son in a tournament. His son is 11 years old, and they're playing in a tournament very soon. So you should be looking out for that one.
Again, we just saw Mike Tyson and Co steal money, and you want to bring Tiger Woods and his 11-year-old to steal more money. Are we being serious right now? We are going to we're going to talk about an 11-year-old playing golf. Anyway, let's enjoy it. It's fun.
People are looking for money.
Everyone's looking for money.
COVID times have been tough.
Gentlemen, we have really hit onto the 2-hour mark almost.
Yeah.
And so, luckily enough for us, next weekend, we will not have a lot of rugby to talk about because rugby today chewed almost 40 minutes of our time. But we'll do more discussion next weekend and give a little bit of NFL, a little bit more time as well. So Ian can give us a presentation and To all our viewers out there, we continue to refine our broadcast to you. As we promised last time, we'll try our best to refine the broadcast to you to give you a little bit of an experience. And as you can see, we've tried to put a few things here and there. Probably soon we'll be able to throw you a couple of highlights of the different games as we talk about them. Just keep it on Newsleber. Make sure you're always on Newsleber Sports page, Newsleber Facebook page, and we'll be able to come to you live from wherever we are. Currently, I'm in Uganda. Ruben is in Uganda. Ian happens to be coming live to you
In
all
Uganda.
from where? Which part of Uganda? But yes, because of COVID,
there's no network in Nansan.
But COVID is not allowing us to sit in one room. Probably when Ian's Nansana finally does come to us, we'll have one of those shows that we'll all be in one room. And do forgive me for my white background. Very soon I'll have probably a Newsleber placard thrown behind there so that we can be able to discuss more. But Ian, any final words before we leave?
No, just looking forward to another week of great sports and very, very entertaining chatting with you, gentlemen, Ruben and Moses. Brilliant talk, and hopefully we have more engaging sports throughout the week so we can have more banter. Hopefully Arsenal also gives us more fun things to talk about.
Ruben, I think you're going next. Probably you throw in your words and tell us what you have to say as you close the show.
It's always a pleasure to talk about sports. Sometimes you learn new things. Sometimes you get to at least vent about things like Arsenal. So sport is a safe space for me, I think. So I appreciate always being here, and cheers.
Yeah.
Cheers.
So as we will definitely be looking at, many of you have been asking us about guests. We will discuss as a team. Some are saying we'd never got to get enough of the sports, representatives or agents. We'll probably talk to Sultan and see if he can be able to come back and give us a little bit of his 30 minutes of time and talk about agency. Someone talked about, sports law. We'll get time and get a sports lawyer as well. Health experts in sports as well, and probably have a little bit of more highlights and people with knowledge come and discuss these things. But as per now, we're saying thank you so much for viewing. Thank you so much for being part of the Newsleber Sports Carven this Sunday. And we're saying peace and love. Stay safe. Wear your masks. Social distance. Don't do what will get you in trouble. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.